giveaway. We like giveaways, so he has passed out some tickets. If you're a ticket holder, if you stay through his whole speech, then we'll draw a ticket. So it's one of those, you stay, you win. But if you have to be present to win. So if you're not present, anyway, we're excited to have him. He's written a book, and this is my personal copy of the book. I have not had it autographed, but I will have it before the meeting's over. It'll be an autographed copy. But the reason I thought of having a guest speaker is because a few days ago we celebrated Memorial Day. And a lot of folks in my generation who never served really don't appreciate all of the, I guess, military holidays that we have. And so the quiz of the day is, how many military holidays do we have? How many military holidays do we celebrate throughout the year? Is it just 1, 2, 3? How many?
365.
365. That's a true veteran there, I guess. You know, every day's glad to be here. Every day's a holiday. Give me a number. 1, 2. I saw 2 military holidays.
At least 3.
3, I'd say.
There's 3. There's 4. Hey, bit, I got 1, got 2, got 3, got 4. Any more, all in, all done. All right, tell me what they are.
Veterans Day and Memorial Day is 2.
Flag Day.
Flag Day.
Yeah, Veterans Day is intended to honor and thank all the military personnel who served in all wars, particularly living veterans. So Veterans Day is for the living veterans.
D-Day.
We have D-Day. And think about D-Day now. I know Mr. French is going to talk about D-Day because that is the day that he remembers very well, is on D-Day. And so I'm not going to steal your thunder, but D-Day is it's the last day, it's the day of invasion that ended the war.
June 6th.
June 6th. I knew you were going to tell me. So you have Veterans Day, D-Day, Memorial Day was also mentioned. Memorial Day is the day that we honor those who have given their lives or have gone before, who have died. So Memorial Day is remember those who have died. Veterans is the ones that are living.
What happened to the 4th of July?
And we have one more day.
VJ
Harbor?
Day.
Pearl Harbor Day.
Pearl Harbor. Well, Armed Forces Day was the day I was looking for. Armed Forces Day are those that are serving. So, yeah, those that are serving, those that have that are living, and then the veterans, those that have served. I got to get this right. Those that are serving, those that have served, and those that have passed away. So those are the days and the holidays we remember. And then D-Day, I'm going to let Gerald French talk about D-Day. So with that, I do want to introduce our guest, very distinguished guest that we have today, and he is known for several things. The one thing I caught my mind was that he is, I'm going to make sure I get this right, he is the youngest military pilot to ever fly a 4-engine bomber.
May I correct that?
But I'll let,
The youngest flight commander of 4-engine bombers. We may have had some younger men that was 18, I was 19 as a flight commander leading bombers over Europe. But that's the only thing I had.
well, I'm gonna push it a little bit higher. I'm gonna give you more credit what you're due. How's that? So, with that, I'd like to introduce our special guest. He's retired U.S. Air Force Major Gerald M. French.
With your permission, may I use your podium to lean on?
It is all yours. That's why it's here.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I have the honor of being invited out here. Mr. Walker invited me to come out to you gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, and speak a little bit, and I appreciate it and I enjoy it. I'm one of you, I'm a pilot, so we talk the same language, but I'd like to see a lot of elderly old people like myself. I'll be 92 next month, and I would like to ask, I want to find out who I'm talking to really. How many in here are veterans? Oh my goodness gracious, Tracy, everybody. Okay, how many of you or ex-Air Force. Okay, good, we can communicate. How many out of all the services, even though you were veterans, some of you may have not gone into actual combat. How many of you were in actual combat? Okay, I'm talking to a group of very intelligent, educated gentlemen. I don't know any ladies. Well, anyway, I enjoy what I'm doing here, and I guess Walker or somebody will tell me when to shut up. Normally, when I talk to the program director, I always tell them you want me to talk 5 minutes or 5 hours? I can talk 5 hours. But 20 minutes you're asleep anyway, so we probably won't go that long. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I see these beautiful pictures here of all these aircraft and aircraft owners, and that's really something. Your whole organization here is great, and I consider it a real privilege to be out here. I was a light airplane driver there for a while. I started flying when I was 16, and I flew till I was 74. I quit flying at 74, not because of my physical inabilities. I was still passing the FAA Class 1 physical, but I had to retire for personal reasons. Anyway, I flew, you name it. The Piper Cubs, of course, Cessnas, Stinsons, station wagon, 150 Stinson, various light aircraft, Taylorcraft, and you name it, and I flew it probably. My pet is, of course, Air Force. I was flying mostly big stuff in the Air Force. I started out flying a PT-19, open cockpit, Fairchild, you all know what that is. I took my primary in that, and my basic training I took in BT-13s. We called the Voltee vibrator. We killed 6 cadets that year, in that class. That thing, that old Voltee vibrator had a tendency, when you practice in stalls and spins, you do 3 turns and recover. One of my buddies, this airplane had the characteristic, as you may or may not know if you've flown that, it always would, if you didn't recover just right, it had a tendency to go into a secondary spin, uncontrolled. So this buddy of mine spun it once. I watched him 3 turns on the highway, and he was cold out, and he went into another spin. He was probably over-controlled on his elevator. And anyway, he spun a second time, recovered from that one, came out, went into a 3rd spin, spun right into the ground, and killed him. So we killed 6 people in basic training. The others, one of them flew under the bridge up on the Red River off Sherman, Texas, where it took my basic. So he got killed. Well, anyway, there's various things. Then I went to AT-6, North American, you know what those are, trainers. And also in Foster Field, Victoria, Texas, we flew P-40s. I was young. I was 18. I was going to be a hot fighter pilot, you know. So I elected to go to single engine fighters. So flew P-40s, and I was a hot pilot, I thought. And anyway, they was chasing Ravel around North Africa at that time, and the wheels over there said they needed some heavy bomber pilots. So they took our whole class, 43F, and that was June of 43, I graduated as second lieutenant with my pilot wings. Took our whole class that went down. Originally, we were going down at Tampa, Drew Field, to fly 825 Helldivers. I think that's some kind of Navy ship. I never flew it anyway. We got down there, stayed in the hotel for a week or 2, and they either closed the school, they wanted these heavy bomber pilots, so they sent us all the bombers. Well, it hurt my dignity. I was a fighter pilot. I didn't want to be a bomber pilot. But anyway, after I got in and flew them for about 30 days, I was glad I was in them, because what happened, I got in a new outfit that ground floor, 720th Bomb Squadron, 450th Bomb Group in Alamogordo, Mexico, and first pilot, or second pilot in our squadron. First pilot in the first airplane, B-24, 4-engine bomber, Liberator, Lieutenant Gerardo was first lieutenant, I was second lieutenant. So he checked me out as in that airplane. For 30 days, I flew the right seat. We got a second airplane in from the factory. They moved me over to the left seat. I now am an aircraft commander at 18 years old in a B-24 heavy bomber. Okay, make a long story short, eventually I went into combat. I was 19 by the time I got over there. And due to the fact that all the rest of the flight commanders were shot down, it had nothing to do with my expertise, but they made me flight commander. And I was leading bombers over Europe at 19 years old, formations over Europe. So that was just World War II, and that's the way it was. And for any of you gentlemen or ladies or anybody that was in any of the other services, I hope I don't insult your integrity by saying this, but it's official fact that the Air Force lost more, they had more casualties, more men killed in World War II than either the Marines, the Navy, or the Army. All due respect to any of you gentlemen that were in the Pacific on those islands, over there in the Army and the Marines and whatever, all due respect to you, and we had a lot of losses, as you know. Some of you older people know what happened back there. But we do have the official record of, it's not a good record, of having more men killed in the Air Force in World War II than any other service, branch of service. Okay, after my 50 missions in Europe, my last mission was D-Day, June the 6th. Our primary target that day was the Ploesti oil wells in Romania, which we hit several times and a lot of losses there. In fact, we lost a whole flight of 6 ships, a formation of 6 airplanes. You know the formation. So a whole flight of 6 ships was shot down that day. Anyway, prior to that, we went up to Normandy and tried to advertise the fact that we were bombers and we wanted to fight the German fighters. I mean, that they used us to pull the fighters off the beach at Normandy. So we went up there, diversionary raid, and we got a battle. That's what we went up there for, because we wanted to pull the fighters off the ground forces. So we did that. That was my 50th and last mission. Somebody asked me in one of the speeches I made one day, what was my favorite day? What was my favorite day? Favorite day was D-Day. That was through. I was through. I came home. 50 missions I had over Europe. I was the only man in our squadron of 18. We had 12 airplanes in our squadron, 18 original crews. Crew was 10 men. Well, 18 crews. I was the only crew out of 18 to come home with 50 missions with all 10 of my men. Now we had, they all weren't killed. Some of them bailed out over enemy territory and were prisoners of war. Some of them were injured, sent back to the States and the hospitals. So I just happened to luck out on the good Lord. I carried a New Testament in my flying suit that my dad had in World War I. And I figured if I ever got shot down, I'd have something to read in prison camp. So I carried that on all 50 of my missions. In Korea, when in the Korean War, I flew 35 combat missions and B-29 super fortresses. So I carried that same New Testament. And luckily I didn't get shot down in Korea. We got a lot of holes in our airplane, we got some Purple Hearts and things like that. But none of them had my name on it. Same with World War II. The good Lord was on my side. And I really appreciate it. I appreciated that safety I had. Okay. So being as you light airplane drivers, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of heavies in here too probably. Anyway, look at these pictures, they're beautiful. It reminds me, one time in the military, I was flying in 4-engine KC-97s for 7 years, and that had the, as you know, the 4360 engine in it, and nice airplane, I loved it. One that looked like a figure 8 coming at you head on. The fuselage was like a figure 8. Pan Am for a lot of them. Anyway, I had one of those on TDY in Alaska, so I had a little Cessna 120. Cessna 120, 2-place airplane. So I have an A&P mechanics license, If you want to hand me that thing, I might talk about that too. I have an A&P mechanics license, so I took my 120, tore it apart, put it in the air in my military airplane, flew it to Alaska in my military plane, then reassembled it, flew 90 days TDY, landed on glaciers and beaches and everywhere I wanted to in Alaska. After 90 days, I put it back together, flew it back to Mountain Home, Idaho, where I was stationed at that time, and reassembled it, put it back together. I had a 5-gallon can of gas in my car, so I put that in the tank, and it says that I had to land at the military base with my military airplane, but the civilian airplane I had over at the civilian airport, 3 or 4 miles away. So I had drained, for safety purposes, the carburetor, all the fuel lines, the filter and everything prior to putting it in my big airplane. And when I got back, reassembled it, put the 5-gallon can of gas in, I figured that's enough. I'm only going over there, 2 or 3 miles. So as test pilot, as an A&P mechanic, tearing airplanes apart and putting them back together, you got to go out and test them, So on the way over, I did some spins and loops, played around, taking advantage of that 5-gallon can of gas. But it didn't last long enough. So pretty soon, I had to dead stick it. So that's only one of my dead sticks. So I dead sticked it into the little airport there. And I had to land in the opposite direction where the little shack was. And I was down at the end of the runway and had to walk all the way back to get a can of gas. That was a lot of fun. I was young and I could take it then. Another time when I dead sticked one, I had an AT-6. And we used to fly upside down. I and my buddy would get together and fly